After encountering the 3 ferocious fire-breathing lizards, Captain Gail Wolf immediately picked up his walkie-talkie and urgently shouted, "Teams near Zone B. Our Zone C team is in critical danger, requesting support, requesting urgent support." However, after he sent out his rescue message, the walkie-talkie began emitting faint buzzing sounds as if it was unresponsive. Realizing that they were being intentionally ignored, Captain Gail Wolf's eyes brimmed with fury. "These bastards, they ignored me." The burly man then added, "Captain, it looks like we overestimated the Lin family. They don't actually care about our lives one bit." Hearing this, Captain Gail Wolf erupted in outrage. "I thought I followed the right people this time and we could make a big sum of money on this mission. Who would have thought the Lin family would betray us like this?" Clenching the walkie-talkie in anger, Captain Gail Wolf was completely livid. "It looks like the Lin High base is truly rotten to the core." Like a true warrior, Captain Gail Wolf then brandished his sword, dauntlessly facing the 3 monsters which far outmatched him alone. "I'll hold them off. The rest of you should run away now." Refusing to leave him behind, the burly man clenched his fists. "How can you say that when we're brothers? We'll leave together, Captain." However, Captain Gail Wolf glanced back at him with a gaze that could seemingly make any man tremble. "Obey my order." Unable to resist Captain Gail Wolf's decisive command, the archer woman and the burly man could only quietly obey with a deep sense of resignation. In contrast, the slick-back hair man didn't hesitate to shamelessly flee the scene upon the first sign of danger. "Idiots. Are you all idiots? Why aren't you running? Are you all waiting for your death?" Seeing his teammates' cowardly nature, the burly man gritted his teeth in outrage. "Newcomers are always so unreliable. If I survive, I'll definitely kill him." Captain Gail Wolf then approached Etan and earnestly put his hand on his shoulder. "Brother Etan, you're very talented. It would be a shame for you to die here. Please take my 2 brothers with you and run." The other teammates then remarked, "I almost forgot. You're a newcomer too. If you're going to run away, do it now. Quickly. Yeah, don't put your bright future on the line, little brother Etan." However, Etan couldn't help but chuckle inwardly as a faint smile crept up on his lips. "Of course, I'm going to run away, but this time, I'll run forward." Seeing Etan's overwhelming aura, Captain Gail Wolf's jaw dropped in complete shock. "That's the aura of an elite martial warrior. Does this mean he was hiding his true strength?" The burly man was also utterly dumbfounded. "An elite martial warrior? How can that be possible?" Ignoring the Gail Wolf squad's reactions, Etan calmly stood before one of the fire-breathing lizards as a boiling hot ball of flames was rapidly approaching him. However, just moments away from being burnt to a crisp, Etan skillfully sliced the fireball into 2 pieces, as if he was slicing the very sun in half. Preparing to engage the lizard, Etan fell into deep thought. "I didn't want to expose my true strength, but if I don't, then the Gail Wolf team would be wiped out. With Captain Gail Wolf's ability, it would be pretty easy for him to escape, but he would rather stay behind alone to let his teammates escape. Knowing his resolve, I'd be a piece of trash like the Mo family if I still hid my true strength. As for the risks of revealing my true strength, I can only hope that Captain Gail Wolf won't tell anybody else." Tian's silhouette then flickered, and he immediately vanished from where he was standing, instantly appearing in front of the lizard's gaping wide jaws. He then slashed his sword downwards, annihilating everything in its path and effortlessly beheading the fire-breathing lizard. Watching their brother's lifeless body fall onto the floor, the other 2 fire-breathing lizards roared in anger and began condensing flaming hot fireballs in their mouth, aimed directly at Etan. Surprisingly, Etan didn't dodge them and fearlessly watched the 2 fireballs inch closer, as if they were just birthday candles that he could blow away. Slashing his sword with a crescent-shaped movement, Etan sliced through the entire floor of the building beside him, as the entire upper part of the building began slowly sliding off of its foundations. While the 2 fireballs were quickly speeding towards Etan, the broken part of the building fell down from the sky, so large that it casted a shadow over the entire area. Just moments later, the falling building intercepted the fireballs, causing a devastating explosion. Seeing Tian's incredible display of strength, the archer woman's eyes twinkled with admiration. "So that's the strength of an elite martial warrior. How amazing." Now that the 2 fireballs had been dealt with, Tian immediately dashed towards the 2 remaining fire-breathing lizards, likely wanting to act fast before the lizards could condense more fireballs. Raising his sword in the air like an executioner about to claim its victims, Tian activated his shadow blade skill, as his sword created a murky green after image, looking like a dagger that was forged from the underworld. In just a split second, hundreds of lethal sword marks appeared in the air, slicing through the tough hide of the fire-breathing lizards like a hot knife cutting through tofu. Howling in anger, furious that the 3 of them together couldn't even leave a single scratch on Etan, the remaining fire-breathing lizards violently crashed onto the floor, never to see the light of day again. At the same time, Captain Gail Wolf was watching from the sidelines, clenching his fists, feeling incredibly motivated. He's incredibly strong. There's no doubt that his strength belongs to the top-tier level of the entire Lin High base. Meanwhile, in the distance, among the eerie and desolate abandoned city, someone let out a desperate cry of help. Slick-back hair man was crawling crawling on the ground, paralyzed by fear as three wolf monsters viciously glared at him with their bloodthirsty eyes. The three wolves then savagely pounced towards him, bearing their gleaming sharp fangs into him, as he could only hopelessly breathe his last breaths, feeling a deep sense of regret and despair. Hearing Slickback Hair's shameless cry for help, Burly Look Man worriedly said, "Captain, I think that guy who ran away is in danger." However, Captain Gail Wolf firmly stood there with an ice-cold gaze. "Ignore him. It's ridiculous that he believed that he could actually escape from here alone." After the intense battle he just had, Etan casually picked up his bags with a calm demeanor. "Captain Gail Wolf, the road has been cleared, so I'll be going further ahead." Glancing over his shoulder with a maniacal look in his eyes, Etan made a fiendish grin. "Will you guys be coming with me?" As if they were gazing at a sanguinary ferocious beast with an endless thirst for blood, the Gail Wolf squad looked at Etan, feeling a slight sense of fear and inferiority. Captain then clenched his fists with resolve. "The Gail Wolf team will stick together no matter what." Seeing his determination, Etan turned back with a faint smile, as if he expected Captain Gail Wolf to say those exact words. Shortly after, the Gail Wolf squad had relocated to a safer area, as Captain Gail Wolf shouted out, "Brother Etan, thank you for bringing us here." Etan, who was standing atop an abandoned building like an overlord looking down on the world, then jumped back to the ground. "No problem, Captain, let's go our separate ways. I want to try a little something out." "What? You're going further in?" Etan then turned towards the Gail Wolf squad. "You guys can return first. I'm going alone." Seeing their captain's reluctance to let Etan go alone, Burly Man suggested, "Judging by our current strength, continuing wouldn't be the smartest choice, Captain." Etan also turned towards Captain Gail Wolf with an assuring gaze. "Captain, don't worry, I'll be fine." Even as Etan began walking away, Captain Gail Wolf still walked closely behind him, in a final attempt to persuade him against the great danger. However, after seeing Etan's unwavering determination, Captain Gail Wolf sighed in resignation. "Forget it, even if we follow him we'll just hold him back. After all, with his strength, he won't need anyone's help." A few minutes later, Etan, who was now far away from the Gail Wolf squad, fell into deep thought. "Before meeting even stronger families, and before I encounter even more troublesome situations, I must test how strong my healing talent truly is." A short while later, as Etan gazed up at a derelict building which was covered in scorching flames, Etan squeezed his nose with his hand. "Damn, it stinks here. Have I finally reached their nest?" However, his eyes suddenly flashed, sensing an imminent danger, as the rubble he was standing on began vigorously shaking. "What's going on here?" Deep crevices began forming in the rubble underneath Etan, as he was suddenly flung up in the air by an unknown force beneath him. Moments later, a giant red demonic hand shot out from the rubble and moved straight towards Etan as if it wanted to drag him into the depths of hell. Its giant fist, which had a 2-meter width, crashed onto Etan's body, sending him flying back several meters from the tremendous impact. However, Etan, with his well-developed battle experience, immediately regained his composure and fiercely sprinted towards the monster. The massive red hand towered over Etan, making him look like an ant trying to shake a tree. However, just as it reached out to attack Etan, Etan moved to the side with an agile movement, narrowly dodging its hand, which slammed onto the ground like a crushing mountain. As Etan skillfully landed on the ground, he watched as an enormous silhouette jumped into the sky and landed directly before him. Gazing up at the monster's towering figure, whose skin seemed like it was made of crimson red steel, Etan's eyes flashed with a hint of anticipation. "What an enormous subject. How perfect. I'll use you to test out my healing talent." Watching as the monster stared at him with eyes gleaming with bloodlust, it suddenly condensed a flaming fiery energy in its mouth, startling Etan. But before Etan could even have a chance to react, the monster shot a raging beam of fire towards Etan, violently crashing into a pile of rubble. Captain Gail Wolf's team was watching from the distance, in awe of the explosion. "Look, Captain, they're fighting." Understanding that his strength was far too insufficient to help Etan, Captain Gail Wolf could only watch from afar, his eyes gleaming with a sense of hope and concern for his brother. Meanwhile, as the scorching hot clouds of smoke slowly dispersed, Etan emerged from the rubble, brimming with excitement, as expected of the King of Lizards. Not showing an ounce of fear in the face of the Lizard King, Etan chuckled. "Hey you, I have a suggestion. Why don't we play a game?" Although the Lizard King couldn't understand human speech, it was seemingly furious after seeing Etan's arrogance, and it shot another fiery beam of energy towards him, like a destructive beam of light descending down from the heavens. After the fire beam's onslaught ended, Etan stood there amidst the burning rubble, a mist of pleasant green energy enveloping him, healing and recovering every cell in his body. Standing up with his blade swung over his shoulder, Etan's eyes radiated a menacing aura. "Well then, why don't we see if you burn me to death first, or if I'll tire you out to death before that." Etan then dashed from his initial position at a speed indiscernible to the human eye, and appeared directly before the Lizard King, dauntlessly facing it head-on. While Etan prepared his sword attack, the Lizard King also prepared to shoot another fiery laser beam towards him. After the two attacks clashed, a giant mushroom cloud cloud explosion erupted, knocking over multiple nearby buildings. As the two continued clashing for the next hour, making the entire area look like a fiery apocalypse, Captain Gail Wolf's team shielded themselves from the impact. Burly Man then concernedly asked if Etan was still alive, but Captain Gail Wolf, just like him, wanted to know the answer to that question. Meanwhile, in the intense battle between Etan and the Lizard King, Etan's blade was deeply plunged into its steel like crimson scales. As he triumphantly sat atop the Lizard King's core, wistfully looking on into the distance, "It looks like I've won this game." Seemingly annoyed, Etan sighed. "This healing talent consumes way too much stamina though. I feel completely empty of energy. But this is a mid-tier beast, so I'll use its blood to help me recover." Channeling his vital energy towards his fingertips, Etan sliced open the Lizard King's tough skin and began ravenously devouring its meat as if he was at a Chinese buffet. After Etan ate the monster meat and regained his stamina, he immediately sat down cross-legged, absorbing the rich energy of heaven and earth. At the same time, Captain Gail Wolf's team was nervously watching in the distance. "It looks like the fighting stopped. Has it ended, Captain?" Just then, the burly man alarmingly pointed in the distance. "Captain, someone's coming out. It's Etan. Brother Etan has returned." Walking towards the Gail Wolf squad, Etan confusedly asked, "Captain, didn't I tell you guys to return first?" Hearing this, Captain Gail Wolf cheerfully smiled as he awkwardly replied, "Although we couldn't help with anything, we were worried. So, anyways, your clothes got destroyed by the flames. Are you alright?" Archer Woman then chimed in, "I have an extra pair. You can have this." Putting on a slightly oversized t-shirt, Etan earnestly thanked the Archer Woman. As Etan breathed a sigh of relief, slightly amused by how overly concerned Captain Gail Wolf and his squad were about him, the burly man glanced at the piles of monster corpses and shouted, "Captain, what should we do with these winnings? On that matter, we'll listen to Brother Etan. This is all his credit after all." However, Etan looked at the corpses indifferently. "Captain, since you guys didn't leave and the beasts are scattered now, you should take these winnings back." Walking atop the pile of fire-breathing lizard corpses, the other teammates were brimming with delight. "I've never seen this many beasts before." "I know, right? The beasts didn't kill us, but bringing them back will tire us to death, he. Etan then said, feeling slightly perplexed, "Guys, what are you doing? Forget about those shrimps. Deal with the body of the King of Lizards first." "King of Lizards? But Brother Etan, aren't you going to come back with us first?" Hearing Etan say no, Captain Gail Wolf was shocked. "Etan, if you're not staying with us, then does that mean?" Etan smiled with a devilish grin. "That's right, I'm going to the Mighty Ant's Nest." Captain Gail Wolf's face then paled with disbelief. Mighty Ant Nest? As Etan rapidly moved through the abandoned wasteland, Captain Gail Wolf inwardly thought, "Brother Etan, I heard them say that the most difficult part of this mission is to exterminate the Mighty Ant Nest. Although a single Mighty Ant is only a low-tier beast, within the nest, they're absolutely everywhere. It's extremely difficult to escape alone, even for a great martial warrior. So, Brother Etan, you must be extremely careful." Not long after, Etan arrived at a spacious area where a vast amount of people were gathered, secretly watching from afar. Etan observed, "So the big forces have all gathered here. That's the Mo family, and that's the Lin family. But which family is that old man from?" It turns out that the third major force that Etan was referring to was a great martial warrior from the Iron Fang base, Elder Qing. However, at that moment, Elder Qing's senses suddenly twitched as he quickly sharpened his gaze. "Who's spying on us?" Hiding atop a nearby wall, Etan was astounded. "That old man sure is sharp." Seeing where Etan was hiding, Elder Qing immediately signaled to two of his men as they swiftly sprinted towards his location. A wry smile appeared on Etan's face as he thought, "What's there to fear? I have to sneak into the armed forces eventually anyway." A few moments later, Elder Qing's two henchmen proudly brought Etan to him, unbeknownst that he purposely let himself get caught. However, as soon as Elder Qing laid his eyes on Etan, his eyes seemed to widen in suspicion. "That boy has the strength of an elite martial warrior. Who are you, kid? Why are you spying on us from afar?" Etan then feigned an innocent smile. "I'm a martial warrior from the Linhai base. I heard a big mission would be here, so I came to help out." Elder Qing then immediately commanded his men to release him, and he then sternly turned towards the other two forces. "Which one of you two does he belong to, and why isn't he with you?" When the two families heard this, both the Lin family and Mo family looked at each other. "I don't know him. He's not from our family either." Realizing that Etan was just a rogue warrior, Elder Qing folded his arms. "You're already an elite martial warrior at such a young age. How rare. But how come no one recognizes you even though you're an elite martial warrior?" Upon hearing this, Lin Mingji immediately swooped in like a talent scout who had just found a hidden gem. He. "You're good with jokes, Elder Qing. What do you mean no one recognizes him?" "I certainly do. He belongs to the Lin family." Etan awkwardly smiled as he thought. "He declared me as a member of the Lin family as soon as he heard the old man say that I'm an elite martial warrior. As expected of the Lin family head, they even beat the Mo family in taking talents." Lin Mingji then firmly told Etan, "Why are you still standing there? there. Hurry up and return to your group. Watching Etienne obediently walk away, Lin Mingji gritted his teeth in excitement. Just got an elite martial warrior for free. What a steal. At the same time, Etienne was being spied on by someone with a pair of binoculars. Xiao Yu was standing beside Yu Ling in the distance as she pouted. How dare the Merlin family try to take Etienne as their own? Isn't that right, my lady? Yu Ling's lips then curled into a smile filled with desire as she assertively said, Etienne can only belong to the martial pavilion. A few hours later, amidst a rocky desert area, the sky was brewing with gray clouds as hordes of birds flew above the barren landscape. In the distance, a large group of people were walking through the desolate landscape, numbering at least a couple hundred. The three forces were solemnly traversing the desert plains, each of their faces filled with determination and resolve. While walking amongst the crowd, Yi Tian pondered, now that everyone knows I'm an elite martial warrior, it'll be harder to advance in secret, but with my current strength, there's nothing to fear.